Low battery, please charge.
What's up? What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? It is your girl, your diva in knowledge, Lady Mocha, representing Mocha's Cafe de Paris, where I'm always serving you wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual awareness. Hope everybody's doing fine. Hope your weekend went well thus far. I've been out of work for 2 months, and I will be going back to the jungle as of Tuesday. So I won't be uploading as much as I've been uploading. So I want to try to get everything in as much as possible while I have a little free time. So, of course, no one in the Black sector is discussing these type of issues because they're too busy focusing on bashing one another, and that's the problem with the Black community. We get so asphyxiated off of drama and asphyxiated off of, being top dog in the YouTube sector that we start to lose focus on the issues at hand, which is definitely a major, major problem in the Black community. And I wish more Black men and more Black women but start focusing more on the younger generation that is coming up, because um all of us roughly now are what now, 40s, 50s, and we don't have a lot of time here left. Let's be frank, we don't have a lot of time. Big ups to everybody in the chat. King Bob, what's up, buddy? DOD, good to see you. Kai Mobley, what's up? I got my usual church members in here tonight. Appreciate y'all for stopping in. Appreciate y'all. And for everybody else who's in the chat, you might can't type because you're listening or whatever, but I appreciate your support as well. But I thought it was imperative that we address this, because none of the other brothers or any of the other sisters in the Black YouTube sector they're not addressing issues that are affecting our children. And if you don't have children, if you're not a parent, you're an aunt, you're somebody's uncle. So in some form or another, this is something that is affecting all of us, regardless. And the problem is, we're not focusing, as I stated, on the issues that are at hand. And the issue is we have young Dusties, troubled young men that are murdering Black fathers. And again, no one is not talking about it. No, we're too busy doing petitions. We're too busy, talking about what Black men ain't doing and what Black women need to do. We're too busy bashing and dragging each other through the mud to be focusing on what's more important. And a lot of you may not make a care less because you don't have children. You don't have, kids that are going to be affected by the choices that this young generation is making. So we have had two separate incidences in which two black fathers have been murdered. Why? Because of a young Dusty who apparently has no regards, no respect for authority, has no respect for the law, and then definitely they don't have no respect for themselves. Now, keep in mind, I see this day in and day out in my line of work. I see these young Black men who enter inside my facility. They act like they're there for stealing out of Walmart, and it's not even mentally calculating that they are in jail awaiting trial so they can be sentenced and go to prison for murdering somebody. I'm around these type of young dudes day in and day out. And I can't preach this more than enough. I wish more Black male content creators would really start speaking to these young Black men that are coming up underneath y'all, because these are the young men that your daughters are going to be dating. These are the young men that your nieces are going to be dating. You have to realize y'all are creating a generation of demonic masculine young men, and y'all are not addressing this at all. And I'm just beyond fed up with the Black YouTube sector, because y'all are grown folks, y'all are grown men, grown women going back and forth at each other. And meanwhile, our children are getting lost in the cause. You're not understanding. You got young Black men that are murdering Black men that are an asset to the Black community. The men that are getting these men that are being murdered are fathers. Do y'all not get it? Do y'all not understand how critical this is? We have had two incidences that have occurred within the month of two Black fathers who actually raise their children, who actually are involved in their children's life. These men are gone. So you know what that means? But what happens when fathers are being murdered? What do y'all believe happens? Whenever a parent is murdered, that means a child loses guidance. Do y'all not understand that? What's up, Joe? EPT with Section 8. It's terrible. And again, you're right, Joe. I agree. So I'm going to go into the story to give y'all a background on what I'm going to be talking about tonight. Because again, a lot of y'all probably haven't even heard about it because the black YouTube sector is being flooded with so much foolishness. They're not even talking about this right now. They're worrying about banning channels. They're worrying about petitions. And y'all are not realizing we have lost 2 black fathers. Okay? And I wanted to discuss this story just to give y'all a background, because when I tell you I am a mother, and when I say I have a daughter, and I had a teenage daughter, she's grown now, she's 20 years old, but I tell you, it was not an easy journey raising a young black woman to not become another statistic, raising her to be different, raising her to have a mind of her own. It was not easy, especially in this generation, because there's so much influence through YouTube, through social media, through Twitter, through Instagram, through Facebook. Do y'all not realize this is the generation in which parents, in which social media has more influence than parents? Do you realize children will go to YouTube to look into how to fix something, how to do something before they call their own mom and dad and be like, Mom, how do I do this? Like my daughter, she calls me to this day when she wants to cook a certain recipe. My daughter doesn't go to YouTube. She doesn't go to Facebook. When she wants to learn how to do certain things, she calls me. She calls my mother, her grandmother, when she wants advice. And I thank God she's not one of those young women that have to listen to dating coaches and gurus and anti-black men hating women. She doesn't allow things within the social media world to influence the values and the morals that we have instilled in her. But that's only because my daughter is one in a many who has had a mother and a father be in her life since the day she was born. But what about these other young black men and young black women who don't have fathers, who don't have mothers, who have played a significant role in their lives and taught them right from wrong, where they wouldn't go to social media as a parent? The problem is we're in a generation now where the majority of these young black men and young black women, they don't have parents guiding them anymore. It's social media, they thug friends, they peers, they promiscuous summer girl thoughtin' girlfriends are the ones that are influencing them. And this is the reason why this story that I'm getting ready to go into, this is a prime example as to why I would appreciate it if grown black men stop teaching young black men that it is okay to disrespect black women, and vice versa. It's also not acceptable for black women to teach other black women to not respect black men, because once we program our children with that type of mindset, this is the BS that we have to deal with. We have to deal with young black men who do y'all not understand? A lot of you black men, do y'all realize these young black men do not respect y'all at all? Do y'all not understand that? No, you don't understand it because you're too busy bickering and beefing with black women in the chats, in the comments, and social media. Do y'all realize these young black men will kill y'all quicker than they kill us? Do y'all not realize that? Do y'all not realize these young black men are killing y'all off away from us, away from y'all, us as y'all wives, away from your daughters as being their fathers. Do y'all not realize these young black men don't give a damn about y'all? They don't care. They don't value life. These young black men, they don't respect y'all masculinity. Let me tell a lot of you brothers out here something. While y'all are so busy preaching against black women about what we don't do, what we need to do, and I get it. A lot of us are dysfunctional. We messed up. We ain't got it together. I would say that. But while y'all are so busy going in and attacking us, do you not understand these young black men are mentally saturating how y'all carry yourselves as grown men when it comes to anger, when it comes to control, when it comes to masculinity? Do you not realize that these young black men are watching what y'all do, how y'all carry yourselves? And what a lot of you black men are not understanding is your disrespect for women, your disrespect for other black men, because let's face it, it ain't just black women that are being disrespected by black men. It's black men that are being disrespected by black men. And this is not to take black women off the hook, because also these young black men are monitoring how we as black women, how we talk to black men, how we don't respect black men. We have these young black men that are watching how black men and black women treat each other. And the very fact that we have become so accustomed to disrespect, now we got these young black men taking matters into their own hands. And the biggest issue is one thing, if these young black men are not respecting us as black women, that is a problem. But once the young black men start losing respect for older black men who are supposed to be leaders of the black community, we are in trouble. Because as a black woman, I cannot pull a young black man aside and say, young man, you need to gain some control over your anger. You need to gain some control. No, this doesn't make you masculine, going out here shooting another grown man who is taking care, providing for his family. As a black woman, I don't have that kind of authority to make these rebellious, hellified, young troubled black men. I don't have that type of authority to make to mentally align him. But you as a black man, being that you was once upon a time a young black man yourself, you have more authority and get into the mindset of these young black men and catching it before their damaged psyche is programmed indefinitely, in which no one can tell them anything. And I will also say, and I'm glad King Bar brought that up, but at the same token, it's a lot of us as black women, we're not teaching our children to respect their black fathers. When you as a single mother, because you're angry or you're resentful for whatever reason, you intentionally will not allow these men to interact and be a part of your son's life, a young black male who needs guidance from a young black man. Because at the end of the day, women, we cannot raise our sons how to be men. It takes a man to raise a man. No different than a man cannot raise a girl how to become a woman. It takes a woman to raise a young woman how to become a woman. But y'all so busy bickering and going back and forth, y'all are not paying attention to what's going on. So anyway, let me get into the situation, y'all. Why young Dusties are murdering black fathers. So I'm going to go ahead and share the story with y'all, so y'all could also be in the loop to what's going on. So, make sure. Okay. All right. So, dad shot dead by teen boy who snuck in to see his 14-year-old daughter. Louisiana father. This is the man here. Louisiana father Desmond Hamilton, 34, was shot and killed in a shootout he had with a teenage boy who police said snuck into the man's home to see his 14-year-old daughter. Authorities in Zachary, a small city about 20 miles north of Baton Rouge, are trying to determine what prompted an exchange of gunfire between a 17-year-old suspect and Hamilton. Zachary Police Chief David McDavid said. McDavid said that the teen and Hamilton shot at each other about 25 minutes after Hamilton caught the boy hiding in the closet and took him downstairs to speak to him. He said Hamilton's daughter is believed to have let the boy into the home from a second-story window using a ladder. Hamilton, a well-known area businessman, died in his living room from multiple gunshot wounds, according to the county coroner's office. The suspect, identified by police as 17-year-old Nicholas McQuarter, survived his injuries. And this here is a little bit more detailed because it's a little bit more to the story. Okay, I think this one is a little bit more detailed. Teenage boy climbed into a Louisiana home by using a ladder to see a girl, fatally shot her father shortly after he confronted him Sunday morning. Authorities in Zachary, a small city about 20 miles from North Baton Rouge, I already read that from the last one. Hamilton, a well-known area businessman, died in his living room, and the teen was injured after shots was fired. McDavid said Thursday that the teen, whom he didn't name, and Hamilton shot at each other about 25 minutes. So basically what's going on is apparently, like most teenagers, rebelling and not respecting the rules and regulations of authority. She decided to sneak this young man into her home. Everyone has weapons when they come in the home. Louisiana dad shot and killed by a teen who entered underage daughter's room through upstairs window. Nicholas is accused of killing Desmond Hamilton in his own home. Louisiana father is dead after teenager he ordered to stay away from his 14-year-old daughter allegedly snuck into her bedroom window with a ladder and shot him during a confrontation. According to local police, the Zachary Police Department said Nicholas, age 17, allegedly shot Desmond multiple times. Authorities said that the two exchanged gunfire and the suspect was also wounded. McQuarter was hospitalized in critical condition and is being charged with second-degree murder, illegal use of weapon, and possession of a stolen firearm. A booking photo was not immediately available. Police said they expected to formally arrest him once he is released from the hospital. Now, usually when it comes to juveniles, they don't normally show their photos, but his photo has been put out there. It happened around 8 a.m. Monday on Hayfield Drive in Zachary. It starts at home, Police Chief McDavid told local media. These young kids got to learn respect, how to treat people, and learn how to deal with conflict resolution. After Hamilton caught the teen in his house, the girl's mother and grandmother took the 14-year-old over to the side to have a talk with her. As that happened, McQuarter and Hamilton got into an argument, and the gunshots were fired. He described Hamilton, the victim, as a young entrepreneur who earned a living in Zachary and his surrounding communities. Local graphic designer Carl Gibson wrote on Twitter. He was one of the clients of our design business. Desmond Hamilton was murdered Sunday morning. We designed the layout of a snowball stand and car wash he was building in Zachary. So basically, this was a black father, who had a lot going for himself. This was not a thug. This was not a bum. Mr. Hamilton was actually a black father who was raising his daughters, raising his children. He was already becoming an entrepreneur. He had a lot of things going for him. And it's so unfortunate that his life was taken by a young man who really does not understand that he took away a black man who could have been an asset to his life, that would have been a good product to society. But this young man didn't care about that. Once everyone has a gun, there's no respect. Young will never listen before they have an equalizer. Elder men have too much to lose to be in the streets having shootouts. I absolutely agree. Hamilton had 4 children, according to a death notice placed in an advocate. I don't know who this man is here, y'all, so I don't know who he is. But from my understanding, this is the young man here who was caught sneaking in the window. and was confronted by the father. Now look at the neighborhood they lived in. Does this look like a black father that's a zero? Does this look like a black father that didn't want his children to have the finer things in life? Look where they was living. Look how they lived. This was a man who was about something. This was a man, a black father that was really a father. But unfortunately, his life is gone. So unfortunately, this is what we're up against, y'all. This is what I'm saying. The black community, y'all are around here going back and forth, arguing with each other, and you're not understanding there's bigger issues at hand that is going on. Y'all are not paying attention to what these young people are doing and how their actions are affecting the black community. No, because we're too busy going in on each other. We're too busy competing with each other. We're too busy slandering each other and having something negative to say about each other. That's what we're doing. I'm trying to get to the next little story here. And I don't know what's been going on lately because this stupid thing here, I don't know how it got, this thing here. I don't know how to get rid of it. This thing here is really crazy. It's been blocking me from being able to do the things I would like to do. So if anybody got any advice on that, but anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and come out of it because it's acting a little crazy. All right, so we already know the details of the story. Basically, I read the story about the father, Mr. Hamilton, and this was not the first time he had issues with this young man sneaking to see his daughter. This actually occurred when he was staying in an apartment complex. The same young man snuck in and he snuck in an apartment complex and was caught using a ladder. So that's what caused the man to have to move his family away into a home. And the young man snuck over there anyway. So basically, I say all that to say this. I can truly understand, unfortunately, that a lot of these young women, because the main thing a lot of people were saying that this young lady is going to regret this for the rest of her life. And this is very true. She's young, dumb, and boy crazy, and she's not realizing that her actions are permanently damaging because her decisions caused her father to lose his life. And she's not understanding the domino effect that's going to come behind this, because not only is her father dead and gone, but the other problem is her and her siblings are going to be without a father. So they're going to end up having a stable family. I'm sure they're going to end up having to stay with the mother. From my understanding, the mother is still living, but these children are never going to be the same. And these kids are going to resent her brother, her sisters. They're going to resent her because they're going to know that she is the reason why their father is not living. And this boy that she was so crazy about, who had her sprung, he's going to be in prison for the rest of his life. So all of this, to have this thug Dusty sneak to your house, first of all, let me say this. As a parent, I have experienced this before. I have experienced my daughter get caught up by a dysfunctional young man. It has happened to me, and I can definitely speak upon this because, like I stated, I have gone through this. Every parent has gone through a young man dating their daughter or getting up with their daughter. And what tends to happen is, as a young woman, because you're young, you want to be in love. You want to live this fantasy. A lot of these young women go out here into the world, and no matter what the parents tell them, the father may tell the daughter, don't let these guys get in your head. The mothers, as a mom, I did all the coaching, I did all the lecturing. I told my daughter how to be cautious of guys like this. Don't meet dudes that will cause you to get in trouble. We've had this conversation over and over, but you know what? It happened to me. It happened to me, and this is the reason why I can speak on it. Once upon a time, this was when my daughter is 20 now, but she had met this young man. At the time she was, I would say, 13 years old, 13, 14. And in a perfect world, you really don't want your children to date. You really don't. I mean, in the perfect world, you rather your daughter date when she's grown and she's well established. But let's face it, in this generation, in this day and age, these kids are not waiting to date. These children are not waiting to have sex anymore. Let's just keep it a buck. These young people, you can preach to them all you want about, you need to save yourself from marriage and you need to keep your legs closed. When they get in a tempted situation and there's no one around to stop them or to talk them out of it, they're going to do what they want to do regardless. As a parent, it don't matter if you put them in church every Sunday. It don't matter if you put them in sports so they don't have time, to be promiscuous. You can do all of that. These kids are going to find a way to outsmart you. Think about it. When you was a teenager, no matter how much your parents might have took the phone away from you, might have told you couldn't go out, you found a way to sneak and do things without them knowing. Unfortunately, this is all a part of puberty. It all a part of immaturity. This is something that all teenagers do. But the bad part is these days it's costing young people when they don't listen. Young people these days is costing them for not listening. Back in our day when we didn't listen, we was able to dodge a few bullets, but these young people now, it's costing them not listening to us as parents. It's costing these young people not listening to us as their fathers, as their mothers. It's a lot of young people, young Black youth, who unfortunately, they're not going to learn until something like this tragically happens. Kai, I wish I was that lucky, but no, I started getting into boys when I was 13, 14 years old. Everybody's raising and upbringing is different, but I had a mother that didn't overly shelter me because she knew for me that over sheltering me would only unfortunately would cause me more problems. So my mom, I was raised up in a household where we was allowed to have freedom within reason, but we had restrictions. I was allowed to have boyfriends when I was 13, 14, 15. I was allowed to have a boyfriend. Only difference was I had structure, and that's the reason why my mom allowed me to date and have boyfriends. That way she can guide me how to have one. Because you got some kids, not all, but you got some children, if you're constantly placing restrictions around them and telling them, no, you don't need no boyfriend, no, you don't need to talk to no boys, you don't need to talk to no girl, what it does is it makes them curious to where now they got to sneak and do it. And 9 times out of 10, when you got to sneak and do it, that is when it's a catastrophe. So I can't speak for all parents. What's up, Dwayne? I can't speak, and Jonathan, Ishmael, I can't speak for our parents, but I'm glad I didn't have a mother that overly sheltered me. I'm glad I found out early that when you don't make the right choices, I learned head on when you give your virginity to the wrong person, how it emotionally affects you, how it emotionally affects your reputation. I learned early because I started early. I am proud of it, but at the same token, for me, that's how I ended up having a level of wisdom that I have today. Because a lot of things I did it early. The only difference was I did have parents who structured me in the process of me having my freedom to be able to do what I wanted to do somewhat within reason. For instance, when I had a boyfriend, my mom didn't allow me to go to his house. He had to come to my house. And then when he came to my house, we wasn't allowed to go in my bedroom. We had to sit in the living room out in the open where she could see what was going on. So I did have a boyfriend early, but the difference was I had structure when I had a boyfriend. I wasn't allowed to go to his house. He wasn't allowed to spend the night. I had structure. And depending on your child, only you know your child. If you can give your child a certain level of privileges, as long as there's still structure and there's restrictions, then you may not have that many problems. Because I know some young women who was not allowed to date or have a boyfriend till they got 2021, and they went but wow, because by the time they got out there, they wasn't ahead of the game. Like, for instance, I had a girlfriend, her mother was very strict. She wasn't allowed to go to proms. She wasn't allowed to do anything till she became 2021. Now for her, it did the opposite. She got pregnant before me because she didn't have the experience that I had. I learned how no good dudes could be at the age of 14, 15. I had already been 20 steps ahead of her in the game as far as knowing what to look for. Now, because her mother had always tried to shelter her, keep her in church, she kept her in church constantly. Her mother always had her home, keeping her kids, her siblings, all of the time. When she did get out there, she got buck wild because she wasn't used to having freedom. So the first guy who gave her attention was the first dude who she got pregnant from. So it depends on the individual. But some of these young women, you can't let them have boyfriends at 13 and 14, especially if you're not guiding them, because they'll become pregnant at 13, 14. So you have to know your child, or whatever the case is. But anyway, I remember when my daughter, she was dating this particular young man. Now, the only difference with me was I allowed my daughter to have a certain amount of freedom because I wanted to prepare her for the game. I didn't want her to be dumbfounded going out there at 17, 18. Now you dating. Now you trying to learn about young guys and how they move and how they operate. I allowed her to experience it early. The only difference was I structured her. I gave her rules. I gave her regulations. She could not do as she wanted to do with a boyfriend. He could not come to my house whenever he felt like it. So I gave her rules and I gave her restrictions. Now, when I met this young man, my daughter was 14 at the time when she introduced me to this young man, because I needed to meet my daughter's boyfriend. You was not going to be dating a guy or seeing a guy, and I don't know nothing about him. I don't know his history. And then the other thing is, a lot of these young people now, they got so much pressure. No matter how much you raise your child to be different, you got to realize your child is in a generation in which they are around other children that are allowed to do whatever the hell they want. That's the other thing that you're up against. You got to deal with the fact that no matter how well you raise your child, it's still going to be other children that's going to influence your child, because everybody's not raising their children the same. You can be a strict mother, have restrictions, have a curfew, but if they hanging around other kids who don't have a curfew, who can come and go as much as they please, because you got to remember, they go to school with kids that are being raised by dysfunctional parents. They're living in neighborhoods where they friends across the street could stay out 12, 2 in the morning and they mad with you because you making them come in the house at 11 o'clock. Exactly, King Ba, peer pressure. So when I met this young man, I knew right off the bat he was going to be a problem. I knew he wasn't given any type of, I can tell just by the way he was dressed. I just had got this vibe that, you know, he wasn't going to be good for her. I just knew it right off the muscle. I knew he wasn't going to be good for her. So I knew telling her right off the muscle, she wasn't going to believe that. So unfortunately, sometimes as a parent, you're going to find yourself in a situation, if you're not a parent, one day you will become one. You're going to face an obstacle in which your child is going to be attracted to somebody you know that's not good for them. It's going to happen. These kids, they don't want the type of young man or young woman who you know would be good for them. They always want to go after the bad boys. They always want to, your sons always want to go after the thoughts. They don't want to go after the girls that, you know how to dress, know how to have manners. Your child always usually wants to go after the person you least want them to be involved with. So when I met the young man, he was polite. He wasn't mean and nasty, but I could smell BS all over him because he was just too mannerable. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. You know, acting overly polite. And I wasn't buying it. But I said, okay, I made sure that the 1 or 2 times they went out, I had them come out with me and her father. So it was a one occasion in which we went to get some pizza. We took them out for some pizza, and that's how I was able to hold a conversation with the young man, and my husband there. We sitting with her and sitting with him, and talking to them about life and talking to them about, how they have to conduct themselves and things of that nature. So the young man, he seemed to comply, and like I said, he seemed very mannerable. But all that whole time, I had no clue that things had already gotten out of control between the both of them, and I didn't know that they had already been, they had already sexually engaged. I didn't find all this out till later, you know what I'm saying. So they had already had taken things to a whole nother level. And me as a parent, I didn't even know anything about it. You know what I'm saying? So so anyway, I started noticing changes in her behavior. I'm sorry, Kai, if I am. But I'm telling you, it's a good thing though. It's a good and a bad thing. Either way it goes, it's a pro. There's some pros and cons to it. So I just started noticing changes in her behavior. And as a parent, you got to notice changes in your child. You have to be observant. You can't be one of those parents where you're so into doing you that you overlook a lot of stuff. And I just started noticing that she was talking back to me more. I noticed that she wasn't doing really well in school when she met this young man. I noticed the teachers were calling me more. And I just noticed she was always angry and upset about stuff for like no reason. And I'm like, something is going on, because I didn't notice all of these changes until she started dating this young man. So at this point, I'm a little worried, because I'm like, I know something's going on. But at that point in time, I didn't have no solid proof. I didn't have really nothing to stand on, because my daughter wasn't really being that open with me at the time. And me trying to be the reasonable mom, I didn't see any real major red flags. So I was still letting her see this young man. I had met his mother. That the first red flag I should have known was when I met his mother. She was one of those moms that was never home. She always was in the streets. I mean, she was like respectable and everything, but she was never home. Like, this stuff that I didn't pay attention to as a parent. This is some of the things that you got to pay attention to. Oh yeah, Jonathan, I can believe that. It happens a lot. That's what I'm saying. As a parent, you really got to be on the ball. You got to be on the grind. You got to pay attention to stuff, because stuff could slip up under your nose real quick. So the first thing I noticed was his mom. It was just her. There was no father in the home. My daughter would tell me all the time how when she would go over there to visit him, I said, well, how's his mom doing? Oh, she wasn't there. She wasn't there. What you mean? How you had me to drop you off over there? And I'm thinking the mama there, the mama ain't there. Oh, she was there, but she went out. So I'm already kind of pissed off. You know what I'm saying? Like, how I'm gonna drop you, making me feel comfortable with you, because I'm thinking you a mother. You making me feel comfortable with dropping my daughter off to you. I'm thinking you gonna be there. She wasn't even there. Now that's another thing. A lot of y'all who aren't parents or who are parents, keep in mind, everybody doesn't raise their children the same. Okay, so just because you are a parent and you constantly keep up with your child and you constantly home with your child, that don't mean if you allow your child to be in the care of somebody else, they're going to extend that same amount of attentiveness to your child. Everybody don't be raising their kids. You got some people who have kids. You got some people who don't raise their kids. You get what I'm saying? There's a difference. So anyway, that was the first red flag. But this is what really made my roach antennas go up. Me and my daughter was going to the mall. And I noticed that she was on the phone with the young man. Okay. And I'm walking with her and trying to act like I'm not ear hustling, because I'm a nosy mother. I listen to all my daughter conversations, even when she think I ain't. I'm like ear hustling. As a parent, you got to be extremely nosy, because if you're not, it's going to be all kind of stuff that's going to get past you. And God forbid if something tragically goes wrong, you're going to look back and reflect and say, you know what? I saw that. I felt something was wrong. It's going to eat you like cancer if something happens to your child and you overlooked a lot of stuff. And you kept ignoring it. Mocha let my little sister know real quick that they was not going to have little boys run up and down causing problems. I did too. Absolutely. Don't blame y'all, right? So anyway, while she's on the phone, I'm noticing there's another young guy trying to talk to her. Now my daughter's on her cell phone. She's kind of walking behind me and I'm walking ahead of her. We both in the mall. I forgot what was going to the mall for. And as she's walking behind me, these young men, they don't know that's my daughter. You get what I'm saying? And of course, they trying to holler at him. One of them, one of these little mop head dudes, call herself trying to approach her. So, of course, she rejected him like, no, I already got, boyfriend or whatever. Now, I'm listening to her explain herself to the boy, right? I can't hear what he's saying, but I'm hearing her explain herself like she is his wife. Oh, I don't know who that is. I don't know why he was trying to talk to me, but I told him I already got a boyfriend. What is you mad for? I wasn't even talking to him. He talking to me. Now I'm listening to my child explain to this young man, like she married to him. She's explaining to him that she's not talking to this guy. This guy's talking to her. That was the second red flag. I said, "Oh, this ain't looking good." Now, keep in mind, I'm a Scorpio. Scorpios, we wait till we build up a lot of evidence before we go in and sting your ass. Keep that in mind. What's up, Omega? Big O in the building. If I'm not reading all y'all comments, disregard. That's why I'm posting them, because I'm trying to make sure I don't throw this story off y'all. So she explained herself like a wife to him. I said, all right, that's second sign. Number two. So it had been a couple of other things after that I had witnessed, and I knew this young man was trying to control my daughter. It's a true story. Nothing I'm making up for empathy or sympathy. So the next incident was when she started skipping school. Teacher called me, let me know she didn't show up to her last class, things of that nature. Confronted her about it. Of course, she lied. I ain't tell her off the muscle. I asked her, how was school today? Oh, school was fine. This and that, blah, 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 whatever. Okay. I let her hang herself. So that's all that happened in school? Yeah, that's all. Well, that's not what Miss So-and-so told me. Why wasn't you in social studies? Why you wasn't in skipping school with her? Skipping school to see him. Okay? A bunch of incidences in which I knew this young man was leading my daughter around a destructive path. It gets more interesting. Several other things happen, but I'm not going to keep y'all on here all night over that. All right. So I'm going to get to the main straw that broke the camel's back. And I said, as a parent, you got to be on your SHIT. You got to be on it, because it's going to be stuff that's going to slip from up under your nose. You one of them parents, you want to turn your eyes, you want to turn your ears and act like you don't see, act like you don't know, because you don't want to be bothered. You're going to pay for it sooner than later. So the straw that broke the camel's back was something else he did. I couldn't remember. And I told her she couldn't see him no more. I said, that's it. Come to find out, he had her sneaking out my house, climbing out the window, walking way across town to go and see him. He just had my daughter possessed. And what do y'all have to realize, especially when it comes to having a daughter, and this doesn't mean because you have a son you're exempt, because believe it or not, boys are no different. Boys could be influenced and manipulated, especially if a fast tail heifer that's already promiscuous puts it down on him and he's young and dumb. Your son can end up impregnating a young fast thought that can possibly make him miserable for the rest of his days, because we're in a society in which Black people think only people who got daughters got to be cautious. No, it go both ways. It's no different. If you have a son, it's all the same. So this gets interesting. So what ends up happening is, when I'm finding out she's doing all of this stuff, and trust and believe, I didn't raise her to be like this. This dude just got a hold of her brain. And once he had got a hold of her brain, she just totally lost herself. And the biggest thing is, once these young women let these dudes get between their legs, they automatically get in their heads. That's a fact. Once these young women have been sexually infiltrated, automatically it's even harder for you as a parent to be able to intercede, because now they done fell in love. So now that's a whole nother battle that you got to deal with once your child gets sexually involved. So that's the other thing. Only difference was I kind of felt like something would like that would have happened. So I made sure we took proper precautions on that. So I did make sure I at least covered her in that area. But like I told her, even when she got on birth control, I said, look here, this don't mean birth control is not a path to be promiscuous and go around screwing every Tom, Dick, and Daryl. Birth control does not protect you from AIDS. It does not protect you from STDs. It doesn't protect you from getting a reputation as being a hoe. And it doesn't protect you from your heart not getting broke. I said, so realize, well, whatever man you choose to give that special treasure to, realize that once he opens that treasure box, you can't get it back. I have preached this to her over and over and over and over. So when we started restricting her from seeing him, they were still sneaking in pieces as far as phone on the phone. So with all this technology that's out, it's harder and harder to punish your kids. That's why I'm glad I only have her, and she's 20 years old now. She's grown. She has her own apartment. She's a correctional officer like me. I'm so glad that girl is in a whole nother space, because I tell you, that girl there, she almost put me in the grave. I'm so serious, but sometimes the most rebellious kids end up being your best friend, because I tell you, me and her are in such a better place. I'm sitting at her apartment today, but we'll talk about that later. But anyway, she was still, with all the technology that's out, it's hard to punish your kids, because now they got tablets, they got phones. Back then, we had to wait till we got home to sneak on the phone before our parents got home. Now these kids got cell phones. If you take away their cell phone, they'll just use their friend's cell phone when they go to school. They're just gonna find a way to get around you regardless of what. So she kept, sneaking and creeping and talking to him. And one day she used the house phone, because her cell phone I took her tablet, I took her laptop, so she didn't have no other means of communication but the house phone. So I had to make sure I had the house phone onto the house so she can call me when she get home. You get what I'm saying? Because with a cell phone, you can lie and say I'm over here when you really somewhere else and turn off your location. But when you have a landline, you can't lie about where you at. You know what I mean? So that's why I had a lot the home line still available. So she was on the phone with him. All right. No, I didn't know it was him at first. She was on the phone with somebody, but I felt like it was him because she had her door closed and she was talking really low. And she wasn't walking around the house talking loud normally like she would do if she was on the phone with her girlfriends or something. So I knew something was up. So I had the other cordless phone in my bedroom. So I figured it was him. In order for me to find out, I said, I'm going to get on the other line and I'm going to put the phone on mute. So she can't hear me pick up the other end of the phone. So when I picked up the other end of the phone, look and behold, guess who she was on the phone with? The no good thug boy. All right. So I'm in my room with my husband, and we have the phone on mute, but I got on speaker where my husband could hear what was going on. So we're listening to both of them talk to each other, right? When I tell you, this is the reason why I'm covering a story about black fathers being murdered. When I tell you these young black men have so much influence, especially the ones that are already troubled, the ones that are already dysfunctional. These young dysfunctional black men have a lot of influence over these young black women, and vice versa. Because I'm not going to say it's just all them. Young black women they do it too. It just depends on the situation. So we're listening to them on a conversation. He's getting on her about he heard something about her talking to some other boy. So again, I'm listening to this man, this young bum dude. I'm listening to him regulating my daughter. Now, mind you, she's about 14, 15 at this time. He's on the phone handling my daughter like he's married to her. Yeah, so-and-so told me you was hugging up on so-and-so. What I told you about hugging up on other men, hugging up on other dudes. You not supposed to be hugging up on no dude but me. Now, mind you, while he's up here talking to my daughter, they don't know we on the phone and listening to them, right? The same disrespectful little girl that was talking back to me, being disrespectful to me, I'm hearing her be humble as a lamb to him. And that in itself was already fuming me and pissing me off, because I'm like, how you have big kahunas when it comes to disrespecting your parents, but this dude here who's disrespecting you and talking to you like you yesterday's garbage, you sitting up here humble as a lamb. You acting like Celie from The Color Purple. Yes, sir. No, sir. Okay, sir. She's explaining herself like a child to him. Now, at this point, I started to unmatch the mute button and go off on the both of them. But my husband was like, no, don't say nothing yet. We're going to see how far this going to go. Let them keep talking. Because me, I'm ready to go gangster. Mocha ready to go gangster at this point, right? So my husband like, no, let them keep talking. So he goes on and, gives her all of these orders about he don't want her hugging on dudes. He don't want her talking to other dudes. He don't want her seeing other dudes. So he finally says, she's explaining to him, trying to make him feel safe, trying to assure him that she's not disrespecting him, even though he's being very disrespectful to her. She replies, well, I'm not even cheating on you. I'm not even talking to nobody but you. I'm not even dealing with nobody but you. She's explaining herself like a child. He goes and says, you better not be talking to no one. You better not even be looking at nobody. You better not even be hugging nobody. Because if I find out you even looking at another dude, if I find out, and she's trying to explain herself like a child, he said, I'll kill you. Let that marinate for 2.3 seconds. True story. By the grace of God, we was on that other line and we heard him say that. He told my child, if I even catch you talking to another man, another dude, I'ma kill you. When he said that, before I could even unmute the phone, my husband snatched the phone from me. And he unmuted the phone. My husband said, you gonna kill what? Who you gonna kill? The young man hung up immediately. So that is when I walked over to her room and I opened her door. I said, how dare you let this young man disrespect you, verbally abuse you, and threaten you? After all the upbringing I gave you, I always raised you to be a young woman, to not tolerate or accept any disrespect from any man, regardless of what. She tried to argue back and forth with the both of us. We wasn't going for it. I told her, I said, the threat that he just made against you, that he would kill you, do you realize how detrimental this is? This is what happens when you allow a young thug dude to run and regulate you. So we're having a screaming match. We're going back and forth. She's trying to defend him. She's trying to, that abused, battered woman syndrome. He ain't mean it. He always say that. I said, let me tell you something. At this point in time, now he ain't your problem no more. He me and your daddy problem. So at this point in time, I contacted his mother. I contacted his mother. I reached out to his mom, and I told her what had happened. When that young man heard her father pick up that phone, because he didn't know my husband was on the other line. He didn't know that. He literally pissed himself. So what ended up happening was I reached out to the mother. I told her, I said, let me tell you something. If your son come anywhere near my daughter, we're going to have some problems. Don't you know she was just as delusional as he was? And I understood this is the reason why this young man is destined for trouble. Because when I went to her as a black mother, black woman, and you're a black woman, I'm telling you what your son is doing. You're going to tell me, well, he's not like that. Kareem is not like that. He's never been that kind of person. I don't give a damn what kind of person you think he is. I'm telling you, me and my husband heard him threaten my daughter. And I'm going to tell you that now. If he come anywhere near me, that 40 Glock that I have in my dresser, he going to be the first one I'm going to use it on. And I ain't never had to kill nobody in my life. So I'm going to let you know that now. Keep him away from my daughter. And another thing, because you have set up here and you are in denial about your son's behavior, I'm going to let you know that same young man, he's going to turn around and embarrass you one of these days. You up here defending him for his wrongdoing, defending him, even though he threatened my child. I said, karma is a bitch. That same young man is going to disgrace you because you have set up here and enabled him and condoned his actions. The story gets more interesting. Just when you think it couldn't get any more interesting. So what ended up happening was it took some time, but we was able to get her to see things for what they were. She understood after much counseling. I told my mom about it. I mean, it takes a village to raise these children. When your child is in trouble, that ain't the time to be quiet. That's the time when you have to call people in your family, get as much family as you can to help you with your child. I called both of my fathers, her grandfathers talked to her, my sisters, her aunts talked to her. I reached out to everybody because one thing about black people, y'all love, what's up, Red Mike? Y'all love to be private about things that shouldn't be private. At that point, I had to put my pride aside and not worry about what people was thinking of me because my child was in trouble. And it comes a point when you as a parent, you cannot always do it by yourself. I had to let other people step in, even though she had me and her father, I had to allow other people to step in so they can talk to her and make her realize you are loved. You are already loved. You don't need love that bad. You got plenty of love. So after months and months and months, we finally had got her to that place in which she saw him for who he was. Okay, so she stopped dealing with him and she started seeing another young man. And the other young man wasn't near as dysfunctional, the other young man she started dating. Matter of fact, she's still with him today. The other young man, he comes from a family with morals, a family with value and things of that nature. So after she started moving on with her life, this young man, she was like 14 at the time, Red Mike. She was 14, and oh yeah, that's the other point I left out. He was 16. He was 16. So he already was mentally ahead of her age-wise and street-wise. Because he was older than her, and then he was from the streets. So he knew what he was doing. He knew how to manipulate, and that's why I'm covering the story, because like I said, it's a lot of black fathers that are being murdered by their daughter's boyfriends. And I'm just sharing my story because it's a reason for everything. And you have to understand how these young dudes are infiltrating the minds of these young women. And if you're not a parent that's nosy, if you're not a parent that keeps up with what your child does, these young men can get a hold of your daughters. And the same thing if you have a son. These young men, boys, are not exempt from the rules. I've seen young men end up in prison, end up in jail, killing a young girl they was obsessed with because she was playing with his mind, she was playing with his emotions. Just because you have a son, it does not mean you can exempt him and think that it's only a problem you got to deal with if you have a daughter. Nope, because these young men, I see them coming in prison and jail where I work at every day. So your sons are not exempt from all of y'all who just think this is a problem for parents who got daughters. That's a lie. That's a myth. So after I was able to get my daughter all the support she needed, she was able to gracefully move on, and she met herself a better young man. This fool, he acted like he still didn't want to let go. So God so happened fixed it where I was getting ready to go somewhere. And as I was driving a couple of blocks down from my household, what's up, Link? As I was driving around a couple of blocks from my house, I saw him walking near the area. And I said, oh, hell no, I don't know what he walking around here for. And I knew instantly he was up to no good. So what I did was I parked my car and I was just sitting in a cut trying to see where he was going. He spotted that I was looking at him, right? So he plays it off and sees somebody he knows in the car and walks over to the car and starts holding a conversation like I'm dumb, like I'm not going to pick up. You only holding a conversation with this person because you know I spotted you and you're not supposed to be over here. You get what I'm saying? So he's trying to play me mentally by talking to this person and thinking I'm gonna leave if he keeps holding a conversation with them. I'm like, nope, I'm gonna park my car here the whole time because I want to see where his ass is going at. You know what I'm saying? So he ends up leaving. He gets in a car with another young man, right? So I kind of swerve around the block right quick to make him think I left. He gets in a car with this other guy, right? I see them pulling towards the direction of my home. He wasn't like directly going to my house, but I can tell that was the direction he was trying to get the young man to take him. So at this point, I'm driving up behind him. He sees me through the rearview mirror that I'm following him and seeing where he's going. So at this point, he gets his friend to whip the car around and goes the opposite direction because he knows that I'm onto him, right? What's up, Kels? So I'm following him. True story. I can't make this shit up. So I'm following him all the way to the traffic, to the next couple of streets because they're trying to throw me off. He got the guy cutting corners. He got the guy going all kind of different streets trying to throw me off, you know. So what happened was when we got up to a red light, I pulled up on the side of him. Now, mind you, the young man, he's on the passenger side. His homeboy, his little homeboy was on the driver's side. So I signaled to his homeboy to roll his window. Yeah, that's what it was. I was on the side where his homeboy was driving. I was on the driver's side. He's on the passenger side. So I told his homeboy to roll his window down. So the young man rolled the window down and said, yes, ma'am. That's when I took my finger and I stuck it halfway through my window. I said, Kareem, were you trying to go to my house? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I said, I'm going to tell you something. If I catch you anywhere near my house, You going damn the day and damn the hour. Don't you ever come anywhere near my house or my daughter. And I pull off. He froze, right? So anyway, I told my daughter, I asked her, I said, are you dealing with this dude again? Why is he sneaking to the house? Mom, no. I didn't even know he was coming around here. I haven't talked to him in weeks and stuff at a time. And I knew she wasn't dealing with him because the other boy, she had started dealing with him. And he had been coming over. So I knew she wasn't lying about that part. So he just meant, even though I had my daughter to let him go, he just meant that he was going to try to get her back, regardless of what I had to say and regardless of what her father had to say. So I had to shut down that camp. So his mother decides to call me. Now, the last time when I called her silly, simple behind, and I told her what her son was doing and how he was being verbally abusive towards my daughter or whatever, and she played crazy. Now you want to call me talking about, well, I'm calling you because Kareem said that you was following him and you accused him of going to your daughter's house and he got family who live over there. So I don't even know why you thinking he going over there to see your daughter. I said, well, with all due respect, if he was going over there to see family, why did your son turn around and go the opposite direction when he noticed I was seeing him? Why he didn't keep going to his uncle's house or whoever you claim stay over there? I said, lady, miss me with the BS. I said, your son is going to cause you grief and he's going to embarrass the hell out you. Look and behold, a year later, WTOC News, I get alerts on my phone. I get alerts when there's a crime in my area. I get alerts, anything that happens in the area. I get an alert on my phone. Kareem XYZ has been arrested due to multiple burglaries. His face ended up on the news. He had been breaking into multiple homes in a nice area of people who work hard to have nice things. He had been breaking and entering homes and stealing things out of people's houses. So when his face popped up on my phone through the news app, I showed it to my daughter. I said, see where God kept you from? I told you from the beginning, he was bad news. I screenshotted it and I showed it to her. Yeah, if it's recorded, absolutely. But it got to be recorded though, Link, because it's your word against theirs. So he got caught. Him and two other young men got caught breaking and entering into people's homes and stealing their items. So he got these burglary charges, which are straight felonies. Now, mind you, because this is his first offense, right? At this time. This happened in 2017, 2016, I think. So they arrested him, booked him. He was detained, I guess, for a day or so. You know, his mama came and bonded him out of jail, right? How about that same week he got caught again and his face was on the news for the second time? 2 days later, he got caught burglarizing our houses again. This time, they kept him. And I told this dummy that her son was going to end up being her own worst nightmare. I told her that her son was going to embarrass her. I told her her son was going to shame her. This is what happens when you have parents that are in denial that their children are trouble. But guess what? It gets better than that. Around 2017, I got hired at the county jail. Around the same time, he had been detained there. They had assigned me to Unit 4. I'd only been a correctional officer. I got done with the academy after 5-6 week basic jail officer training. And they decided to assign me to unit number 4. So when I was assigned to unit 4, I'll say after being there like a week or 2, I get a call from my lieutenant, says, Officer so-and-so, I got an inmate that's going to be coming to you. Can you please assign him a cell when he gets there? Please make sure you put him in top tier, and he's going to be on his way momentarily. I will call you as soon as he arrives. I said, okay, no problem, LT. Look and behold, I look up, the doors pop open. As I come down from my desk and get ready to approach the door to let the inmate in, look and behold, it was him. He ended up being an inmate assigned to my unit under my authority. And the rest is history. When I said he was shocked when he saw my face, he didn't expect to be assigned to my unit, and he was assigned to my unit. See, that's why you got to be careful how you treat people, because you never know when you're going to run into them. And he will be going to prison, facing at least 10 to 15 years for multiple burglaries. And that's that. So I say all that to say this. I know my story is far from what these men have experienced as far as being fathers and losing their lives. Is that these young women, if you don't get a hold of your daughters, when you don't get a hold of your sons, when you see them getting out of character, you see they're acting different once they start hanging around certain people, once they start getting in relationships, once they get a boyfriend and a girlfriend, you're noticing their character is different. You're noticing they're doing things they normally don't do. You as the parent, you have to step in and intercede immediately, because these young Dusties are infiltrating these young women who don't know anything, who are still young, dumb, immature. These young men will take over your whole house if you're not a parent that's willing to put your foot down. LO, interesting as hell. Did you laugh at him at all to show him? Listen, boy, I told your ass, now did I? No, believe it or not, I remain very professional. I remain very professional because I knew it was going to happen. It's that Scorpio intuition. I already knew it was going to happen. He was shocked that he saw me. So whenever we have an inmate that enters our facility, we are required to let our sergeants and our superiors know, because it becomes a conflict of interest. If there's an inmate that's related to you, you dated an inmate, or you know of that inmate, it can cause problems. So I let my LT know up front that he had been dating my daughter, and I also told him that this young man had made threats towards my daughters. So I told him that I wanted, if he were to give me any problems, that I wanted him removed from the unit immediately. Now at that point, I could have had him removed from the unit easily, but I said no, because my daughter was already in a good place, and I know my daughter hadn't been dealing with him for some years, but I already made it clear the moment he get out of pocket, he gonna have to go from my unit, because I'm not gonna have any problems with him. So I remember one day I had I think he was making too much noise. He was being really loud or something. So I stopped by his cell, and I told him, I'm gonna need y'all to bring the noise down, because y'all disturbing all the other inmates in here who are trying to sleep. So I remember he made a smart remark like, well, we in jail, like, what you expect? You want us to be quiet or whatever? So he gets sarcastic with me. I said, look here. I said, you're absolutely right. You're in jail, which means when I give you a directive, you ought to follow that directive. So I can tell he wants to get in this verbal match with me, because he already know I don't like him. You get what I'm saying? And at this point, I know he has to protect his ego, because he's in the jail around other dudes. You know what I'm saying? He ain't gonna want to look soft by allowing me to go off on him or handle him. So he gonna have to up the ante to prove that he's just as hard as these dudes are in here. So what I did was I called my LT and I told him, I said, look here, either you're gonna have to let him know he gonna follow my rules and my regulations. If not, he's gonna have to be relocated, because I already know he's looking for anything to use as leverage, based on the fact that he had been with my daughter. So my LT was like, okay, no problem, I'll talk to him. So my LT pulled him aside, he talked to him, told him what it was, this how it's gonna go. Whatever officer so-and-so say, that's how it's gonna be. The moment you give her any problems, I'm gonna put your ass in the hole. You think this uncomfortable, you think you hate jail, you're gonna be sent to unit 2 Delta. Everybody knows that's the hole in my jail. He set him straight immediately. I didn't have any more problems out of him. Not one. I didn't have any more problems, period. None whatsoever. Link says these young, immature girls asked for his number. See, they did not hear what he told us. They showed up minutes after he said what he said. But see, it just goes to show you, you don't have to take matters into your own hands. Karma is going to do it. Sometimes you got to sit back, as hard as it is. And trust me, I believe. I've always been the kind of person, I want to take matters in my own hands, especially when I felt somebody was trying me, or I felt somebody was calling my bluff. But when you humble yourself and you give a person enough rope to hang themselves, eventually you will get back your sweet revenge. Some things are better off left unsaid. Sometimes you have to let people get the last word so they can think that they won. Now, had I took matters in my own hands and had I shot at him, had I hurt him, I wouldn't have never made it to that point in which I would have got a career that put me in authority over him. So see, sometimes, as hard as it is, sometimes you have to take the high road in life. Yeah, Kels, he was trying to, I try to tell these inmates, jail is jail. It amazes me, how these inmates will complain about food, complain about not getting enough rec time, but you're in jail. You're not at the Marriott. But this is what I had to come across. But I basically said all that to say this. Again, for those of you who are coming in, y'all didn't hear Y'all probably didn't hear much about the situation, but basically it was a story that happened sometime this month here. A father was killed by a teen who had snuck into his household to see his daughter. A 14-year-old girl, she had a young man come to her house without her father's permission. She was 14 years old. Father, 34-year-old man who was still young himself. She had a good father. She had a father who was an entrepreneur, who had them in a nice home. And the 14-year-old decided to go against what her father said about this young man not being able to come over unannounced. She snuck the young man to her house. He had a ladder, but he was able to climb through the window. Now, if that's not thirsty for a little piece of tail, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. And I wish a lot of you black male consecrators, I wish y'all would talk to these young men about keeping their hormones in control. Because do y'all not realize my jail is overcrowded with young men who got sexual offenses? They have no discipline over their sexual urges to the point where they are raping young women, where they are climbing mountains, willing to go sneak in somebody's house for some tail. Now, that father could have killed him. It could have went the other way around. These young men, it's not enough men that are teaching young men how to have discipline. Y'all have to teach these young black men, just like y'all want to keep getting on black women about you need to teach your daughter to keep her legs closed. Y'all need to teach these young black men about discipline, because they just sticking a penis in anything that has a hole. And you have some of them so thirsty for a piece of tail, they're willing to jeopardize they safety by sneaking in another adult's household just to get some booty. It just never amazes me. Now, from my understanding, at the time, they was living in an apartment complex when this young man was sneaking over and smashing. And you know how these apartment complexes have like upstairs, downstairs? He was so thirsty for some tail, he had a ladder. Now, think about it. You're in an apartment complex. You think your neighbor's not going to say something? You think your neighbor's not going to say anything like, look, Mr. So-and-so, while you was at work, your daughter had some dude with a ladder climbing through her window. He was just that thirsty and dumb that he was willing to, he went so far as to get in a ladder to climb through the window. Now, if that's not thirsty, I don't know what is. Keep in mind, he's 17 years old. This young lady is 14. So he's really too old for her. And it never seems to amaze me. That's why you guys got to be careful when y'all preach to other men about only going after young women, because some of these men have pedophilia tendencies. So you have to be careful how you encourage men to go after young women, because when you're telling a pedophile that's giving them mixed signals. And I hear a lot of guys on here doing that all the time. You need to get you something young. You need to get you something fresh. Do you realize the psyche of a pedophile? Because people these days, they want to take a message and interpret it to where it fits their dirty ass deeds. It fits their dirty ass way of thinking. That's all I hear on a lot of channels. You need to date younger women. But if you're not explaining to them, don't go after jailbait. Don't go after young women that are still emotionally underdeveloped, that are still physically not all the way developed. No, but my thing is, you have a lot of these pedophiles, they think because these young women are built like they're 30, that they're 30. Just because a 13-year-old has a butt and tits as big as a 30-year-old, it does not make her 30. She is still 13. Yeah, Link says keeping their hormones in control. This conversation needs deep dialogue. I try and reach as many young men about conduct as much as I can. Some listen, but some see it as a man, please. We are out here. Well, and I'm glad, Link, that there are men like you who are promoting this, because these young, let me tell you something. The jail, the prison system is overcrowded with black men and men of all colors. I ain't gonna say it's just black men. The prison system is overcrowded with men that have strong pedophilia urgencies. Point in case, I had a family member of mine who had been sexually involved with this underage young female. Okay, now mind you, she did not look her age. But let's face it, some of you guys are so thirsty, y'all don't want to know their age. All you care about is that it's free and it's accessible. A lot of y'all don't be wanting to know, because you feel like if you do ask a young woman her real age and she tells you she's 13, now it's in your conscience, if you have one. Oh man, I can't smash that, she too young. A lot of y'all don't want to know their age, because you want to smash, and then later on when you find out, now you can play crazy, because you can tell them, well, I didn't know what's her age. You can tell when a female is young, even if you don't see her ID, based on how she talks, based on her responses. You know she young. But he was dealing with this young female because she was overly developed. He didn't ask no questions. He was so glad to be getting some. He had been smashing her for a couple of months. And what happened was he became so comfortable to the point he went to her parents' house and was smashing her in her bedroom in her parents' house. Now, if that wasn't a red flag that she was young, I don't know what was. She's still living with her parents, bro. I get it. You got some grown people who live with the family, but he knew the girl was too young. He's so glad that it's free access. He was going over there smashing continuously. Well, he got so comfortable, he didn't care. Well, look and behold, one day he went over there to smash her, not knowing her military father got off from work early. I don't know. I think he kind of was getting a whiff that something was going on. Her military father came home early. This is a true story. I'm not making this up. He came home early, went in his daughter's bedroom, caught this dude smashing his underage child. Now, it's by the grace of God, this man didn't kill him, because he could have ended up in the same situation that this man that I'm doing content about tonight could have ended up in. So somebody could have been dead. But he did something more humiliating than killing him. He contacted authorities, and when my cousin tried to get dressed, he took his clothes and told him, no, you're going to stay here boonie butt naked until the cops get here. He made my cousin stand there naked with balls, scrotum sack, everything hanging out until the police got there. He heard that. To me, I would have rather just been killed. Now, Link says keeping their hormones in control. What's feeding them is energy. IG models, porn, Facebook inboxing. Lose women who use their body for attention. I know we may not want to see this, however. I've also spoken on this several times as well. That you can't lure, you can't put a slice of cheese out there in the trap and think a rat not going to try to bite it. I also have spoken on this as well. But the problem is worse for you men, because y'all are the ones who go to prison. The women don't. That's why I'm more harder on the guys, because the penalties for y'all is way more harsh. These females can sit up here and lie. And that's what she did. When she felt like she was getting in trouble, she lied. These young women will play rape. I don't care how good she looks. Even if you see a female with on Instagram and they're making themselves thought magnets or thought targets, you got to realize they doing that for a reason. It could be a setup. Doing that to lure you in, and as soon as they get you comfortable and invite you over and things got hot and heavy, you got a lot of scandalous women out here who will intentionally dress like that to lure you and draw you in. And the moment you make a move on her, she'll flip the script. You know how many women act like hoes but don't want to be treated like hoes? You have many females out here that are hoes and don't want to be treated like hoes. So the consequences are worse for y'all when y'all go out there and y'all make these decisions. A woman can sit up there and lie. The criminal justice system is pretty biased. A woman can sit up there and cry wolf and get empathy and sympathy. That's not going to happen with y'all. Really? Y'all think you can tell the judge, well, she was on Instagram dressing like she wanted it? You think the judge gonna want to hear that, especially if you are a black male? Let's be for real. But I get what you're saying. But these females out here, they don't care. You know how many females pose as prostitutes and Backpage just to set a dude up so he could come over to her hotel and she set him up to get robbed? Easy access has always been the demise of thirsty ass men. Just because she's advertising it, just because it's easy, that don't mean you have to take up on her offer. But I know I'm all over the place, y'all. But my whole point is this man was doing the right thing. He was raising his daughters. He was an entrepreneur. He was raising her and her siblings. This man was only 36 years old. He was doing what a father is supposed to do. He was protecting his household. And he lost his life because of it. Same thing happened with the TikTok twins. Somebody brought it up in here. Their father was shot and killed. All because the TikTok twins, they was trying to do some type of record deal or something with some type of company. And the father wasn't fond of it. I think I found a story here. Yeah. Incident, MPD says the Williams Street incident was a huge domestic dispute between twin sisters. Police said the twins called their mom and dad, who was James Walters, to assist. It ended up resulting in his death. 48-year-old James Walters twins go by the name Famous Twins on social media. They allegedly signed a deal with the local rapper and money was deposited into their account. Money that allegedly fueled this domestic dispute. They were just mad and they were just going back and forth, said a neighbor. Police said one of the twins' boyfriends and their father, Walters, got into a dispute. Police said both were armed. Just like both of the men in this, the father and the young man in this situation, they both was armed. They all were in the house. Commotion started real bad, and then gunshots were fired. MPD says at some point, one of the twins' boyfriends shot Walters. The bullet, police said, also struck a 23-year-old female who police said is in critical condition. Oh, I didn't know another female got shot behind it. Walters, the father, ran out of the house and collapsed down the street. He fought for his life but died upon receiving medical attention. As a result of that particular incident, one of the girl's boyfriends decided that he would retaliate against the individual that he thought was responsible for causing the death. 28-year-old Angelo Miro went to the Pathway Apartments on Florida Street looking for the revenge against the alleged young man. Police said Miro was in the right complex but kicked in the wrong door. He shot and killed innocent 74-year-old James Jones. That's a whole lot going on, but nevertheless. Again, another father who was being a father and had children who had twin daughters who was rebelling, did not respect his authority as a father, and the boyfriend got involved and he shot the father. So it just goes to show you that a lot of the Black community is losing a lot of leadership. It's gotten to the point now, like I said, in which these young Dusties are murdering young black fathers. And I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, these young men who murdered these men, they didn't have fathers. I guarantee you. That's why they did not respect his masculine authority. Young men who are raised with fathers, they understand to a degree that fathers are protective of their daughters. They understand that. But this is why, as a parent, like I shared with y'all my situation, you got to know, get to learn these young men who your daughters are dating. Get to know these young women who your sons are dating. It's very important that you know their background, you know where they come from, you know the family dynamics, so you know what you are up against. You meet a young man and he tells you, it's a way you can ask them questions without putting them on spot. How often does your parents work? What do your parents do for a living? It's a part you ask these kind of questions. Because kids are kind of slow, they don't always pinpoint on stuff. My father, he really don't work nowhere. Or my mom, she always working, she never home. That's something you kind of got to be cautious of. You got to look at how these young men and young women behave around your children. You have to pay attention to how your child acts when they are around certain people. If your child is acting different now that she has this boyfriend, or your son acting different, your son acting overly emotional, like he can't live without this girl who don't love him, who cheat on him. Believe it or not, you got young men, they're going around here, they are killing their young girlfriends because some of these young men, they soft now. A lot of these young men don't have no masculinity. They don't know how to take a loss and keep it moving. I know young men, you know how many young men in my facility getting ready to face life in jail because they so badly couldn't handle a woman rejecting them, so they killed them, they strangled them to death. Oh, I know y'all think emotion, only women are emotional. I know that's the narrative that y'all hear all day. But do you not realize you got emotional dudes that are killing women who don't want them? But we ain't going to talk about that. So if you got if you got grown men that have emotional issues, grown men, and I see it day in and day out in the Black YouTube sector, grown men can't handle a woman saying something to him in the comment room, so he has to get disrespectful. Now, if she's coming at him disrespectful and calling him a mother effer or a no good N-word, I get it. If a woman comes at you ratchet, then yeah, you have every right to get ratchet back. But I have seen grown men with my own eyes, because a woman has a difference in opinion, or because her points seem to be more valid than his, he wants to go dropping B bombs, the bitch bombs, or the F bombs, or he wants to attack how she looks. He wants to attack her hair when he's not winning an argument. He wants to attack the hair. He wants to attack her weight. He wants to attack. Back in the day when men and women had a confrontation, men did not allow women to get them out of character. You rarely ever saw men looking at your granddaddies, your daddies back in the 60s, 70s, early 80s. You never really saw a man cussing a female out in the street, because he knew how to contain his masculine composure. That is the reason why you men have masculinity. Women, we don't have masculinity. I don't care if we try to dress like y'all. I don't care if we try to act like y'all. We don't have masculinity. We don't have testosterone. Okay, don't matter if we got facial hairs, anything. It's the reason y'all are given masculinity, which means y'all are built to handle things accordingly. Now I get it. There's going to be some guys in the room that's going to be like, nah, if a woman want to act like a man, I'm gonna handle her like a man. Guess what? A woman can handle you like a man. She'll never be a man. That don't matter if she curse like a man, dress like a man, will never be able to out masculine you. Let me see what Link says. Is there a way to fix or work on both sides? Let's say that one side is fixed. What about the other side that causes the issues? Meaning what's feeding both sides and how to properly get this on track. So Link, I'm with you on that, but I've gotten to the point now to where I have pretty much, given up with black men and black women. I pretty much have exhausted hope. Um, with I have exhausted hope due to the fact that the problem with the black community is black people want to keep deflecting and projecting. People are so busy pointing out, black men and black women are so busy pointing out each other's faults, flaws, and failures, but yet we are overlooking our own faults, flaws, and failures. At this point, I'm hearing everybody preach about black women don't take accountability or black men don't take accountability. Accountability is a word that black people in general are allergic to. Both are guilty of it. I know black men who don't take accountability, and I know black women who don't take accountability. Exactly. I'm pro-black, not pro-ignorance. I agree. So with that being said, I've just come to discover that you have a lot of black men and black women who are never going to accept their own faults. Instead, the ones that don't take accountability, they're going to point out everybody else's faults. If people would learn how to work on their own individual issues instead of pointing at what this person needs to do, what this person should do, learn how to work on you before you go out there giving anybody advice on what they need to work on. And that's for both black men and black women. And the biggest problem is you have too many black men who want to keep black women in line, and you have too many black women that want to keep black men in line. But the whole point of the matter is we have a lot of people that has all the answers. They are so qualified in being able to preach to what people need to do, but at the same point in time, they don't have any real receipts to prove that they have all of what it takes to be coaching and guiding other people on what they should or shouldn't do. That is the biggest problem in the black community. What y'all call as truth is toxic. Your truth don't speak for everybody. That's because just because that's how you feel about a certain group of people, your truth is not everybody else's truth. And the whole problem in a nutshell is we have a lot of trauma bonding in the black community. It's a lot of trauma bonding. People only want to go to spaces in which people can relate and identify with their pain. And I've preached on this several times. People don't want to go somewhere where people is going to change their mindset. Some people don't like change. You have some black women, they are comfortable with hating black men. They're comfortable. They don't want to learn a different approach on how to deal with black men. They just want to hate them. And it's the same with black women. You have some men, they just comfortable with hating black women. They don't want nobody teaching them how to love black women. We're in a culture with all this black bashing. We're comfortable with hearing the worst of each other, but nobody wants to try to learn from each other. All we want to do is bash each other. And everybody's comfortable there. So at this point, I don't think there's no hope. Now, and I didn't want to speak on this, but it's all these petitions and stuff going around, people trying to ban, content creators, who are talking negatively about black women. And now they got a petition against black women who are talking negatively about black men. All these petitions because people now can't have a difference in opinion without worrying about their channels being terminated or flagged because of ego and pride. So now we got all these several petitions going around. They want this person's channel shut down because they don't like how he speaks, and they want this woman's channel shut down because they don't like how she speaks. I think the best solution for that, instead of terminating channels and stuff, just demonetize everybody who speaks on these type of issues. Just demonetize them. Don't take away their voice, take away their money. I don't think nobody needs their channel shut down or anything. Just take away the super chats. Just take away any type of just demonetize the channel for everybody that's doing it, not certain individuals, because everybody's guilty of it. It's a lot of channels that are speaking on that. Oh yeah, a lot who go that way would definitely get offended. First we have to fix how we group with males and boys, women with females. A lot of us need to be able to tell whom we're dealing with. And that was the other point that I was getting ready to address. That is really should be women guiding women, and men should be guiding men, really. But we shouldn't be guiding each other in a sense of manipulation. Other words, women don't be needing to guide women to be bitter and hateful just because she's bitter and hateful. And men, just because you old and time done pass you by and you can't get a young woman no more, you want to discourage other young men who are still young, who still got their youth. You want to pollute them with your sexist theories and your sexist ideologies. You want to pollute their brains. You know, y'all, people are just really abusing the privilege of having a freedom of speech. They're abusing it, they're misusing it, and this is the reason why we are where we are, and it's going to continue to keep getting worse. I don't think nobody's channel is going to get shut down personally, because these other individuals love to see black people attack each other. They love to see black people profit off of dragging each other through the mud. So as long as we're not messing with any of them, I don't think anybody's channel, I don't think anybody has anything to worry about. Nobody's channel not going to get terminated. Nobody's channel not going to get shut down, because guess what, black men and women, we have become a new minstrel show. We have become a new minstrel show. I don't think they're going to do anything. But my thing is this: if you're going to go after one channel, then it's only fair that you go after the other channel. You don't just pick, we're going to take down the women who talk about this, but you let the men still talk and promote this. Or you shut down the men, but then you let the women. No, I say it's a one size fits all. If you're going to go there, if this is an issue with black bashing, one size fits all. No favoritism. One size fits all. But a lot of this has everything to do with money. Take away the super chats. I guarantee you that'll make a lot of them switch their narratives. Then take away the money. Demonetize channels. Fix it to where if they ask for cash apps, channels are going to get flagged. I guarantee you, when you talk about that money, things change. I did a poll on that today. I don't know if y'all had a chance to look at it, but I did a poll with these channels that are being that everybody's trying to petition to get terminated. Do you think they should terminate them all together, or just demonetize it, fix it to where they can't gain any money from it? Fix it to where cash apps, they can't post their cash app information, they can't post it in the link, they can't post it in the chat. Take away that money. Don't shut down the channels. Take away that money. That's all you do. Me personally, I honestly, I watch different ones, but I'm not subscribed to any of them. Everybody who's being petitioned against, I'm not subscribed. And I don't view any of their content, but it's gotten to the point now Even when you go to other content creators, they upload in their videos. So I'm like, you can't even really get around it, because even if you're not subscribed to these certain people, you got people who rock with them, who are subscribed to them, and they be uploading their stuff. So now I'm finding myself having to unsubscribe from other people who are subscribed to these people, because to me, I can't listen to all that black bashing. I just, it drains my spirit. I don't get no joy out of seeing black women or black men get dragged. I don't get any pleasure out of it. Now, I'm not gonna lie, once upon a time before I was woke, I used to feed off of that. I used to love to hear, women going on men, because I was in a certain place in my life where I was going through a certain situation of pain and resentment. So I was okay with listening to that type of content. And then I was okay with listening to men drag women who I felt needed to be dragged. I was okay with that. But me now, I'm older. I'm in a whole nother space. I'm just not in the midst of entertaining that type of negative energy. I just don't want it anywhere around me. Period. I just don't watch it. But at the same time, though, we got to keep in mind, even, listen, this is my concern. Even if you tell them people, because I hear that all the time. I hear people saying, just don't watch it. Don't look at it. Turn the other way. I agree. But you know what the problem is? The problem is you have young men like the ones that I'm telling y'all about tonight. They listen to this type of content. They listen to not having to respect women, or even young women listening to the content that you don't have to respect black men. Y'all are not understanding. It's the young generation that's already troubled. It's the young generation that's already dysfunctional. They're the ones that are also listening to this content. I'm not concerned about the ones who watch it, but they watch it for entertainment. The ones who don't take it serious. What about the ones that do? That's my problem. Because if you have a young man who's already trigger happy, and he runs across to any of these content creators that are saying you don't got to respect black women, or you don't have to respect black men. It's these troubled people who listen to this type of information, and they take the content and misinterpret it in their psyche the wrong way, and they utilize it to justify, why they got there and murder black women or murder black men. You have to also keep in mind, it's not just the people who know better. What about the people who don't know better? I'm not saying that type of content, I'm not saying the black bashing content is going to change the world if they remove it, but right now, I don't know about y'all, but I see more harm than good that's coming from it. But for toxic people, they enjoy it. They don't see no harm in it. I'm just in a different space. I know toxic energy when I see it, and I don't sit myself in any of these spaces. I'm just not going to sit anywhere and listen to black men be dragged in and day out, all black women. But everybody to each his own. If it's not Tommy making an ass out of himself, it's Toriko or Marjay. It's not Cynthia G. It's the Swirls, Lady, Chris, and Carson. Like I said, I have respect for whatever anybody decides to speak on or whatever anybody decides to address. I just don't go in places in which my spirit don't mix with the content that's being preached. But I will say this, as much as we may not be fond of some of these individuals, a lot of them do speak a lot of truth. I mean, I will say that it's been times I heard certain individuals say things that make sense, but at the same time, just because something is truthful, that don't mean you should weaponize that truth. Even with truth, you got to be careful how you use it. Take it. So, exactly. Exactly, Kai. The young generation need to turn to family for guidance, not YouTube. Exactly, and that's what I mentioned earlier. Is that the dangerous part is like I said, these young men who murdered these two black fathers that was murdered. A lot of these kids now they're letting social media raise them. A lot of children they're not going to parents for anything. For instance, my daughter, she'll still call me. Like I said earlier, she'll call me if she want to know how to make a certain recipe or something. She'll call me. Others, they gonna go on YouTube and learn how to cook. Social media has taken away that personal interaction from mothers and daughters and fathers and sons of being able to bond. But I really wish more men. This is my only problem with the men, with the male content creators. If y'all gonna bash women, I mean, do y'all whatever, that's how you feel. That's what makes you feel relevant, I guess. But I really wish they would address the younger men with their anger issues, because like I said, I work in a correctional facility and I see a lot of these young men that are entering the jail system. They have a lot of anger issues. They don't know how to keep their composure. You have a lot of young men that are emotional, but the bad part is I'm starting to see a lot of older men that are being emotional. And my fear is these young men are mimicking that. They're seeing these older grown men who are supposed to be older, supposed to be more experienced, who's supposed to have more discipline of their anger. They're seeing these older men on online communities cursing women out just because she has a difference in opinion. Not because she's getting disrespectful towards him, but because she has a difference in opinion, or she doesn't rock with the guy she rocks with. I've just never seen, I've always known women to be very messy. That is in our nature. Women are messy individuals by nature. We've always been messy. Women, we've always gossiped. We've always, been petty. But the scary part is I'm just starting to notice so many men are doing it. I mean, I'm seeing men that are cursing women out like they going at like they're female. I just never seen a generation of men take everything so emotional and personal. I'm from an era, if a woman says something that rubbed you the wrong way, you made her look stupid by walking away and leaving her there. And let her argue by her damn self till she looks stupid. But I get it. This is a new generation. No, she cussed me, I'ma cuss out back. She want to handle me like a man, I'ma handle her like a man. But that's may be true, but the consequences are different now. So you have to be careful how you entertain certain things. But anyway, like I said, I just done reached a point to where I realize a lot of the black community is comfortable with being toxic. Y'all love toxic. Y'all love arguing. Y'all love going back and forth. You love having the last word. We love it. We enjoy it. Because if you didn't enjoy it, you wouldn't be entertaining it. If they listen to these reckless YouTubers, then they will learn the consequences. Yep, they sure will. And that's the bad part. A lot of people, a lot of black men and black women, a lot of them are going to be set up for failure, because a lot of these YouTube content creators, they are leading y'all the wrong direction. They're going to cause y'all to get in some really bad predicaments because they're not giving you the right information. They're so concerned with views and popularity that they're giving you information that's not really helpful. It's about what's going to how they're going to profit. So that's the bad part. It's a lot of people being misguided out here, but that's just something they don't have to deal with. But anyhow, definitely my heart goes out to Mr. Hamilton, 36-year-old, who lost his life from 17-year-old Nicholas McQuarter, who broke into his home to sneak and see his daughter. My heart definitely goes out to his children, because they're going to not have a father in their life anymore, unfortunately, behind his guidance. The young lady who was not really understanding how her actions was going to affect her father. I know she's definitely going to need some psychological help after this. Because I'm sure she did not expect it to go this far. I doubt she wanted her father murdered. Um, I'm sure that's not what she wanted, but the unfortunate part is her actions, her immaturity, and her not listening and not respecting the rules that her father has set forth before her. Unfortunately, is going to cost her her peace of mind, and it already has cost her losing her father. So now she's going to have to live with that. Not only is she going to have to live with that, her siblings is going to have to live with that. It's a very unfortunate situation that is so many young black men that are good fathers, that are raising their children, that are good providers. Their lives are being taken. We actually have one here in my city, a married black man who had been with his wife for every bit of 20 something years. He was a UPS worker. He worked hard. He had an outstanding reputation. All of his co-workers loved him. All of his neighbors always said how he was a hardworking man. He had all of his kids from one woman. They raised those children together. And he decided one night for him and his wife to have some alone time and go to the coastal fair, which is something that, a lot of couples do. So they went to the fair, and after leaving the fair and the carnival, and on their way walking towards his car, that was when these four thugs had approached him for money. And even after he complied and gave him the money, they still shot him and killed him and shot his wife. The wife lived through it, but he died, unfortunately. So this just goes to show how out of hand it has become. A lot of these young Dusties, they are killing successful black men who would be phenomenal leaders to the black community. They are killing black men that are fathers. They're killing black men that are providers. I really wish you male content creators would speak more to the young lost men in this generation. And I wish more female content creators would really start talking more to these young women about not putting themselves in positions of wanting love so badly to where they're willing to risk their safety, their father's safety. You're sneaking young men over to your house. You're sneaking men, other guys in your house that got a weapon on them. First of all, this dude came to her house with a weapon, so he came there with demonic intentions that he was going to do something. If it wouldn't have been her father, it would have been somebody else's father. You can reach 40 young men. Okay, there are 60 other loose females out there twerking, showing how to screw through a dance, luring them right back, or females calling themselves bad bitches. And that's why I said just now that the women need to be and these younger women that are also coming up. We have a jail. We also have a correctional facility full of young women. There's a lot of young women that are in my facility for murder. You got women out there that are becoming just as ruthless, if not more ruthless than men. You have a lot of women young women out here that are in jail for very heinous crimes. I've met many female inmates that are not even 20 years old, that have 5 or more armed robbery charges. I know some young women who are locked up in there for assisting men with sex trafficking. So again, like I said, the black community has issues with black men and black women. There's no choosing sides where only black men have the problem, only black women have the problem. This is a problem for all of us. So I'll never be the other content creators are going to always do it. You're going to have content creators that's going to say black women are the problem. And then you're going to have other content creators that are going to say black men are the problem. What I'm saying here on my platform is the black community has a problem in a whole. And that's the whole problem. And unfortunately, you can't save everyone. You can reach out as much as you can, but at the same time, if you can just save the life of one, then you've done something. You've done something. Even if only one gets it, only one learns. I mean, you did that counts a whole lot. If you can get one, I would rather, even if it's not going to reach anybody, even if it's not going to change anything, I would rather these issues be addressed more, because the stuff they're talking about now, it's not helping us either. The things these content creators are speaking on, it's not helping us either. You know what I mean? But either way it goes, y'all, my heart definitely goes out to this family. Again, I appreciate each and every one of y'all for hanging out with me at Mocha's Cafe de Paris. Again, to all of those who have lost a father due to violence, definitely make sure you get some psychiatric help. Make sure you get some spiritual counseling. If not, and you try to deal with this grieving process on your own, it's definitely going to overwhelm you. So if anything, I definitely feel for his kids who didn't cause this, because this man also had a son. So now, his son is not going to have a father there, and hopefully he doesn't have anger issues behind this and he doesn't rebel as well. But like y'all said, we can't save everybody. Save who you can save. Those who don't want to listen, then guess what? They'll find out the hard way. Believe me, I deal with them every day at the jail that I work at. Those who don't listen, that's where they end up. Dead or in jail. Prison. One way or the other, you gonna learn. Life will teach you if nothing else does. So anyway, I definitely appreciate y'all for hanging out. It is your girl, your diva and knowledge lady Mocha. Remember, I'm going to always pour you a cup of truth and break you off with a slice of knowledge. Y'all be blessed. Take care.